My mom survived a serial killer, and this is her story. Okay, so my mom was attending college, and she was walking out of the library when a very handsome man with a beard approached her. It was raining really hard, and he complimented her cute polka-dotted umbrella. Anyways, they strike up a conversation, and he mentions that because he's a photography student, he notices things like cute umbrellas, he's got an eye for it. But the university my mom was going to, they had a dress code, and beards were not allowed for students to have at that time. And so she had a little red flag like, if he's a student here, how does he have a beard? So the conversation's winding down, and he offers to hold her umbrella and walk her to her car because her hands were full of books. She says that she really didn't want him to walk her, like she just had this weird feeling, but felt awkward saying no, so she said yes. As she starts approaching her car, she said that her stomach started getting the butterflies, and it's like she just knew not to go to her car. And I think it's worth mentioning, pausing the story right here, because I work for a nutrition company, and I learned that your gut has 500 million neurons, and your brain has 1 billion, or 100 billion, I don't remember. Okay, I just looked it up. 100 billion neurons are in your brain, 500 million are in your gut. And that's why they call your gut your second brain, because they are totally connected. So if you have a gut feeling, you have to listen to it. So they're walking in the parking lot, and he's asking, okay, so which car is yours? Which direction do we walk? And my mom just can't take that feeling in her stomach anymore. She goes, oh shoot, you know what? I just remembered I have to meet up with a friend. No need to walk me to my car anymore. I actually have to go back to the building. She then says that he acted a little bit annoyed, but he smiled and asked if he could call her later. That because it's close to finals week, he had one final project where he needed to photograph somebody and thought that she would be perfect and that he would love to connect with her. Now, my cutie mama is the biggest people pleaser you will ever meet in your entire life. Maybe that's where I get it from. And she couldn't say no. But instead, she decided to come up with like a loop around where I just moved into my new apartment, so I don't remember the new phone number, but if you can look up my parents in the phone book, you can call them and then we can connect. Now, my grandma and grandpa have very unoriginal names. There's at least 10 people with the same names in the phone book. So she figured, one, he's probably not going to spend the time looking in the phone book, and two, he's not going to figure out like which number is theirs. So my mom scurries off and thinks that she's avoided some weirdo, but didn't really think much of it until later that night. I don't think I explained the amount of pressure this guy was putting on my mom when they were in the parking lot for her to help him out. He was basically begging her to help him with his final. He already had it all set up. It was due tomorrow, and it was only going to take 10 minutes of her time. I feel like anyone with a sliver of kindness in their heart would have said yes, but it all goes back to the fact that he had that beard, and at the university she was going to, you can't be a student and have a beard. So that really was that's what really gave her that irk. But he wasn't rude, he wasn't aggressive, he was super kind and actually very articulate, but extremely pushy. This is the part that gives me chills. He found my grandparents. I don't know if he drove to their house or just called them. We'll have to get her on TikTok so she can actually tell her story. But my grandparents only live 10 minutes away from the campus, so super close either way. So my grandma is the one that actually talked with this gentleman. He's super charming. He mentions how amazing it is that she's raised such a kind woman who's gonna save the day, help him with his project, and just how beautiful he thought that she was. But he needed her contact information, whether it's her phone or address. A real sweet talker. She gives it to him. So in the meantime, my mom's at her apartment, and she does actually tell her roommates about this little interaction. But it's casual. She didn't really think much of it. I should also mention my mom was this really cute cheerleader. She's got this big blonde hair, blue eyes. At the time, the university was #1 in the nation for their football program. I think my mom was probably stopped quite a few times by cute little gentlemen. But anyways, so it's later that night, and it's only been a few hours since she's met this guy, and the phone rings. I first just want to pause and just, how creepy is it that he actually followed through? Looked through the phone book, found the grandparents, and actually spent a couple hours hunting her. There are easier ways to go about this, but maybe that was his thing. Maybe he really enjoyed that chase. Okay, so now she's at the apartment. It's later in the evening. She's just hanging out, and the phone rings. Each roommate in the apartment had their own phone, and the phone in my mom's bedroom started to ring. She walks into her room, picks up the phone, and it's him, the guy from the parking lot. She's obviously really surprised because no way did he track her down. Now this part's chilling, and I just confirmed this with my mom this morning. He had actually asked my grandma for her apartment address. But the funny part is my grandma actually didn't know where my mom lived. She really had just changed apartments and didn't update her mom on the address. Typical 20-year-old behavior, am I right, moms? My grandma would have provided the phone number and the address if she knew it. So my mom's on the phone, totally in awe that this guy went to all this effort. She started to realize that he was actually desperate and she didn't want to let him down. My mom is naive and kind, and she still kind of is. And the combination of those two have gotten her in trouble multiple times. This is just one of her stories. I could make a whole TikTok based on my mom's life. She's got 9 lives, but she's definitely a magnet for this kind of stuff, and she has passed it on to her children because me and my siblings also have crazy stories. Okay, but back to the phone call. So he's pleading with her. He went to all this effort to set up the shoot. He found her parents. He's now on the phone with her. He kept saying over and over again, "You're the only one who can help me." Typical gaslighting. So my mom is still trying to get out of it, saying that she's still busy, but it's becoming more difficult for her to refuse him. So she breaks down. She thinks, okay, just do it. He'll then leave me alone. It'll only take 30 minutes. I'll walk down to the music hallway, snap a photo, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's just note that music rooms are typically soundproof. And the way that the building is situated, there's an exit that goes right out to the parking lot. So essentially it would be really easy to do something in that music room that's soundproof, get her into a car. No one would either hear it and probably see it. So she's about to say yes to meeting up with him, and her gut, she says it feels like a knife stabbed her in the gut. That's how bad she knew she shouldn't go. And as this is happening, her roommate walked into her bedroom. Her roommate could tell that my mom is having some kind of conflict on the phone, and she wanted to sit in and listen in. So she whispers or mouths, "What's going on?" My mom says she'll never forget what Kareen, her roommate, said. "Put him on hold. Do you know him?" My mom said no. Her roommate then said, "You are not going anywhere with somebody you don't know for a photo." Having her friend say that to her released that searing pain in her gut, and it gave my mom the confidence to take herself off of mute and tell him, "No, I am not going. See ya." A big thank you to Kareen, Susan, and Stacy for helping my mom. But sadly, the story doesn't end there. So 2 weeks later, my mom and her roommates are watching TV. And I guess back then, the FBI's top 10 most wanted list would occasionally pop on. And on the screen, staring back at her, was his face. And she now knew his real name. My mom came face to face with Christopher Wilder, which we now know him as the Beauty Queen Killer. He was notorious for his torturings and things that I'm not going to even mention here on TikTok. You can go Google him, but he's a pretty horrible person. So horrible, that's why he was listed in the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, and there was a nationwide manhunt for him while he had met my mom. So my mom's in shock, and she later did research to see if anyone else had seen him on campus. And it's documented in the Daily University, which I guess is the university's newspaper, that there was another student that came face to face with him. He had approached her at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Luckily nothing happened, but both she and my mom were totally unaware that there was a manhunt for this man. So we can't share those kind of stories unless there's a lesson at the end. If anyone is ever making you feel uncomfortable, don't worry about hurting their feelings. They've already made you feel uncomfortable. They've already striked. It's okay to be direct, and most importantly, listen to your gut.
There's a list of the dumbest shit that men have said to me, and they were fucking for real about it. Let's start off strong. My ex told me he wanted to marry someone who looked and was just like his mother. I said, "Your mother? That's pretty fucking weird." He's like, "What? I love my mom." And I'm like, "No, same, but I don't want to fucking marry her." And I was like, "You don't think that's fucking weird?" And he's like, "No, not at all. I just really love my mom." I was like, "Are we both missing the point that it's your mother?" Like, babe, you're giving incest vibes. And like, that's just not cute. This same ex told me every time he looks at himself in the mirror, he gets turned on. I said, "Babe, that's a little weird." He's like, "What? You don't love yourself?" I'm like, "No, I love myself. And when I look in the mirror, I'm like, God, you're so fucking gorgeous. I don't want to fuck myself." And he was like, "Nobody said I wanted to fuck myself." I was like, "But you just told me you get hard every time you look at yourself in the mirror." He was like, "Yeah, that's just like super normal. Like, I just love myself." I was like, "But babe, you're saying when you see a man, you get hard. Like, you're a man and you're looking at yourself and you're getting hard. Like, you're turned on by yourself." And I was like, "I think you have a little bit of exploring to do." And like, that's perfectly fine. And he got like like so mad at me. He's like, and I'm like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. I caught my ex cheating. The first thing he said to me wasn't even sorry. You want to know what it was? How did she find out I was dating you? She doesn't even have an Instagram. Like talking about his other girlfriend. He's like, she doesn't even have an Instagram. How did she find out we were dating? And I'm like, that's your concern right now, is how the fuck she found out that you cheated on the both of us? Like, can I get a fucking sorry before you start accusing this bitch of stalking you? Because he was like, she's stalking me. Like, she doesn't have an Instagram. Why is she like keeping track of mine? I was like, babes, you're missing the point 155 fucking percent. Like, what do you mean? I was expecting to get on the phone with him and him like cry begging for me back, you know, like the norm. Instead, this man was mad that his other girlfriend knew about his Instagram. I'm like, I cannot believe this is my fucking life. Like, this is a joke. So speaking of the cheating, lying ex that I had, I texted him, and it was like right after the breakup, like a couple weeks after. I was in my sad bitch phase, right? I texted him an Olivia Rodrigo song. That's so fucking embarrassing to admit. Like, literally ill. Ever. I sent it to him, and I was like going off. I was like, fuck you, you fucking bitch, right? Like, that was my vibe. You wanna know what he responded to me? He responded, oh my God, I got so fit. Like, I'm getting in such great shape. In that moment, I knew that man gave not a single fuck about me. I was like, I'm wasting my time here, and I just shared a great Olivia Rodrigo masterpiece. I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, he didn't deserve to hear that. So, like, I'm done. Because here I am, like, writing you a novel, pouring my heart out about how you cheated on me, how much it hurt me, and you're like, I'm in amazing shape. Fuck you. And that was weird. Those are just a couple of many examples I have of like dumb shit men have said to me.
Am I wrong for calling the bride a slut at the wedding reception? Oh shit. I, 22 female, went to a wedding recently for my friend's 22 female cousin. My friend brought me along for emotional support since she was being forced to go. My friend didn't like her cousin at all because, simply put, the cousin is horrible to my friend. She would make fun of my friend's appearance, which included anything from weight, hair, skin, etc., despite my friend being drop-dead gorgeous. This has led to her having major self-esteem issues. On top of that, there was a 10-year age gap between my friend and her cousin, 32 female, meaning it was literally at one point an adult bullying a child. Friend's cousin is also just an awful person in general, the quintessential racist, but I have black friends, mean girl who gossips and fights with everyone. However, my friend's parents believe that family is forever no matter what, so she was dragged to the wedding, meaning I got dragged along as well. The ceremony happened and we moved to the reception. Everything was going surprisingly smoothly until I started dancing with one of the groomsmen on the dance floor. Bride didn't like this apparently. I know because she came up to me and asked me what the hell I thought I was doing. I was confused and asked her what she meant. She asked me why the hell was I all over him meaning the groomsman. I didn't know why she was upset about it. After all, she had a new husband that she should be celebrating with. My friend intervened after she noticed the bride talking to me angrily. The bride turned to my friend and asked her why she brought this slut to her wedding. I wasn't too surprised given the stories I've heard about her, but nevertheless, that still stung. My friend told her to back off and not to say that to me. Bride said that I was indeed a slut for dancing with the groomsman. My friend explained to me that the groomsman that I was dancing with was her ex-boyfriend. I turned to the bride and told her that she just got married to another man, so it wasn't like she wanted her ex back. She then told me that the chances are still high and that I have no right to put my hands on him. I laughed and said, "Oh, so you're the one that's actually a slut." Bride lost it, screaming at me, cursing at me, crying while her husband was trying to escort her away, and all the while I was laughing my ass off. I had a few drinks then. My friend had escorted me back away to our table. Now that the alcohol has worn off, as much as I hate her, I feel like I may be the asshole for saying that to the bride at the reception. According to my friend, she has been getting calls and texts from angry family members asking the both of us how we could ruin the bride's big day. So, am I the asshole?
I have a stalker, and this update is probably the scariest one yet. Something really freaking scary happened last night. I was sound asleep, and at 3:28, my TV just turns on. And it doesn't just turn on to, like, the title screen or anything. It goes to that random video, like, ferrets from the same people who made Charlie the Unicorn. And I thought it was, like, an alarm. So I was like, Alexa, turn the alarm off, and she didn't. And I was like, Alexa, turn the podcast off, and she didn't. And I realized that it was coming from downstairs. I go downstairs because it's really loud, and I take the remote and I turn it off, and I go upstairs and I don't think anything of it. Then I remembered about that randomly at work, and I was like, that's really weird. And so I thought to check my cameras, and my free trial expired. So none of my cameras were visually picking up anything, but they did detect the motion. And at exactly 3:28, well, first of all, I think it was 3:13 before my before this happens, like 15 minutes before, it detected a motion where the cars are, and the car windows you can like see to the living room. And then at 3:28, right as I got up and turned the TV off, there was more motion in the cars. So I'm thinking maybe it was my stalker just trying to see if I was home or if I was awake or something. I don't know for sure, but do any of you guys know if you can turn on an LG TV without a remote? Like if you could do it on your iPhone, or if you could buy like the same remote and be able to turn it on like that? Because I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. And I'm going to provide receipts. Okay. Where I circled at 3:13 a.m. there was movement in my cars. Sorry, I blacked out my address over there, and then 3:28 inside front where I turned off the TV, there was more movement, and then once again at 3:28. So I think someone turned on my TV, was watching for my cars, and then left when they saw I was awake, but I'm not sure. I need you guys to help me and to help me figure it out. So yeah, if you have any information on how LG TV works, that would be great.
It's a very rare thing, rare beauty, for me to like leave my apartment. When I do, it's usually pretty boring, but I went to the mall yesterday and the most random thing happened. Walked in, and while I was like walking to a store, I made eye contact with these two guys, but I didn't really think that deep into it. I just kind of kept walking. I had my headphones in and I couldn't hear anything, right? I was going to like some random store and I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around and it's the two guys that I made eye contact with, and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hi." They're like, "You were at," I don't remember the person's name, to be honest. I think it was like Iris or some shit. "But you were at Iris's party yesterday, right?" And I'm like, "No." And they start like trying to convince me that they saw me at this party yesterday. They're like, "Bro, we were like with you the whole night, remember?" Like, and I'm like, "Listen, I was like on my period at home last night. I don't know who you're talking about. Baby, I was cramped up, curled up in a ball watching The Glory. I promise you that was not me." And then the guys like turn to each other, and this guy's like, "Yo, this is her. Like, this is the girl from yesterday." And then the other guy like stares at me for longer and is like, "Nah, man, the other girl was Latina. Like, this is not her." And then this other guy's like, Nah, this is her. Like, blah, blah. I'm just awkwardly standing there watching them like argue about whether or not this was me. Like, I don't know who Inez, Iris, whatever the fuck, I don't know who this is, and that was not me. I was home. And then they were like, "Oh, okay," and then left. I think one of the guys like was low-key in love with that girl because he seemed like kind of like the one that got away. So if you kind of look like me and you were on a party like Saturday night at some girl named Iris, Inez, or some M name, it was either I or M party, and you were with two guys for a lot of the night, tall guys, one of them's in love with you.
Whoever created the Instagram nose thing deserves to be punched in the fucking head. Anyways, my ex texted me last night and I was like absolutely fucking disgusted. This is like my loser, lying, cheating, pathetic ex. Like, I do have him blocked, but his messages will still come through on my laptop, which I like. I like that that motherfucker is like dying without me, right? And that he knows he's blocked, okay? So whatever, you might call me crazy. I don't fucking care. I already know I'm crazy. One of my favorite things about myself is my ability to just like never respond to people ever again. Like, I told my ex-boyfriend while I was dating him, I'm like, cheating is like my all-time thing. Like, if you cheat, I will never fucking speak to you again. Like, you think it's funny, but you'll absolutely never hear from me again. And like, since the moment we broke up from him cheating, I have never spoken to him, and I know it just kills him that like I will not respond to any of his text messages, and he'll never get that access to me ever again. Like, he'll never feel my energy or anything like that. Like, that must kill him. But like, I made it clear, don't cheat or you're never gonna hear from me again. Like, if you're gonna disrespect me, you don't deserve my energy. Also, this has been on my mind really heavy. Everyone's been asking me where that pink corset is from, and I linked it on my Instagram story. It's Danielle Giozo. I never pronounce it correctly. I never will. Like, it's a $200 corset, and I didn't pay $200 for it, and like, it was eating me alive having you guys think that I just paid $200 for like a bedazzled pink corset. Like, I got it at a sample sale in New York for $30. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm not over here spending $200 on corsets yet. I could definitely see that for myself in the future, but like, just letting you know, this looks hideous. Got a tattoo yesterday, you guys. Kind of hate it. What? No, I don't hate it. I just feel like after I get a tattoo, I hate it for like a good 2 weeks. I don't know why. That just kind of always happened to me. But I'm also weirdly spontaneous with my tattoos. I'll just be like, I want one. And I'll just like go get one. And it'll be like the randomest things ever. So like, I definitely have an ass tat that I'm like, why the fuck did I get an ass tat? But it's like, not on my ass, not on my lower back. It's just a weird location. No one can ever read it. It's like a big thing. I'm gonna hit 10K on Insta and I'll literally pop my pussy when I do. I don't know why my Instagram's, ow, I just burned the absolute fuck out of my forehead. I don't know why my Instagram's growing pretty slow, but like, whatever, it's not my main focus. TikTok is. My roommate's in like a big meeting and I'm just like over here curling my hair screaming about a fucking corset and Instagram. Like, she knows she can text me and like tell me to shut the fuck up, and I will, because like I respect her and I love her and she's in meetings. This will be the last time I ever curl my hair, because like what the fuck is this?
So my boyfriend rejected my Christmas present, like fully doesn't want it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I posted a video the other day and it was me wrapping his gift and I was so excited. And then I gave it to him and he was like, thank you, but I don't really want this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you've literally been talking about wanting this, you almost bought it for yourself, why? For reference, I got him an Apple Watch, and then I also got him Zins, which he loved those. He was like so excited for those, but the Apple Watch, he was like, I don't know if I want this. And it's not like I got him an Apple Watch out of the blue. He's literally been talking about it. He almost bought it for himself. Like, multiple times he's almost gotten it. So I was like, if he's not gonna get it for himself, I'm just gonna get it for him. But I guess his reasoning for not wanting it anymore is because he's so like stressed out at work. He has a lot on his plate at work. So he doesn't want to get like emails and messages from work on his wrist 24/7, which I get. So I was like, okay, well, return the Apple Watch. Like, what else do you want? Obviously I have to get you something. I want to get you something. And he's like, nothing. You don't need to get me anything. Like, I don't want anything. Save your money. And I was like, no, I want to get you something. What do you want? I will buy you something. And he's like, all I want for Christmas is for you to save your money. And that's it. I'm like, that's not how it works. Mind you, this man literally bought me a pink iPad for Christmas. A pink iPad, which I am so grateful for, and I honestly love it very much. But I was like, you literally got me an iPad, like, what can I do for you? Then I finally got him to be like, okay, just take me out to like a nice dinner or something. That's literally all he wants. Like, this man doesn't want anything, which is fine. I just love giving gifts, so I was sad when he didn't want my gift. But I understand if he's not going to use it, then why keep it? He's just like a very realistic person, and yeah. His love language is not gifts. I mean, he likes to give gifts. He just doesn't like to receive gifts, which is honestly, my friends were like, that's the perfect boyfriend. I was like, I know, but I feel bad. He literally spoils me and hardly lets me pay for anything. I think what I'm gonna do though is I wanna plan a trip because he really wants to go to Texas because one of his best friends lives in Texas. So I kinda wanna plan a little trip and go see a bunch of like places in Texas, maybe like New Orleans. I feel like that'd be really fun. We're also going to Mammoth in January, so I'll probably take him out to a few nice dinners there because he deserves that for sure. But yeah, I basically have the best boyfriend ever who all he wants me to do is save my money.
Having a baby has made me hate my husband and because a bitter person. My husband and I had a baby about 6 months ago. This baby was planned, very much wanted. Straight away, I was doing all overnights and wake-ups, and was hit with postpartum depression terribly. I asked for help, but because he was sleeping 10 to 14 hours a stretch uninterrupted, husband, not baby, and made me feel guilty. I was up every 1 to 2 hours to feed the baby. I was miserable, but kept being told by everyone around me that being tired was what I signed up for. I was upset with my husband already, because the one thing I had asked for was to please not have his parents greet us in the driveway or come over as soon as we got home. I had some complications in the hospital, and needed 35 stitches to also sew up my now extremely broken vagina. I was ripped to kingdom come, and even walking was a nightmare. I could feel every single external and internal stitch, and they pulled at the slightest movement. I had also been given 2 husband sticks extra during the process, something that we didn't find out until much later. Look it up, so fun. I had also specified to my husband to please make sure to tell the doctor I didn't want that since I would be out of my gourd in pain. The hospital had 30 labor and delivery doctors floating, and you couldn't pick who you were going to get, and this hospital had a track record for that online. We didn't have a choice in hospital with insurance. Husband forgot and I was unlucky. If you wonder why I had those specifics about his parents, his mom was extremely overbearing during my pregnancy, and was already upset she couldn't be a spectator for the birth. I'd spent enough time in the pregnancy subreddits to know if you needed something from your husband with labor/postpartum, you had to very specifically tell him what it was, and do it early and often in the pregnancy, so he could be on board. I get it. Men are not mind readers and there's a lot of kerfuffle going on at that time. So I really hammered those 3 things in. Husband stitch, driveway, immediate visit. I reminded him every day for 9 months. I was a nag about it. But I knew I needed those things advocated. He assured me hundreds of times he understood that I was overkill. His parents are our literal next-door neighbors. I could spit from my house and hit theirs. Not an exaggeration, nor my choice in housing. That's another story. The ride home was awful. Every bump was torture, and it felt like I was ripping in half. We pulled into the driveway, and were greeted by his parents. They wanted to see the baby, chit-chat, etc. I was crying from the ride, and was trying to step around them to get to the path into our house. They stood in the way of the gate and just kept talking. I looked at my husband, who just answered questions while showing the baby, oblivious to my pain. They finally moved after 15 agonizing minutes, saying, "We will be right over." Record scratch. We get into the house, me immediately going into the bathroom to change the blood-soaked pad and diaper I was wearing because tearing/delivery equals massive blood loss, and I begged him to not let his parents in. He said, "What am I supposed to do? Say no?" "Yes. Yes you are." I hobbled to the bed. He comes in and hands me the baby. Then a moment later he lets his parents into the house, leads them into the bedroom, then leaves TO play on his computer. His parents took the baby from me, immediately took off their masks, and proceeded to ignore me and hold him for an hour, taking pictures and talking to each other. After they left, I sobbed on the toilet. He said I was being unreasonable. For days postpartum, I had a spinal leak from the epidural. I had to go to the ER and get an emergency blood patch. They let me out of the hospital at 2 am, no waiting inside because of COVID, lobby closed. I was left waiting outside in 34-degree weather, sitting on a concrete wall for an hour while my husband was furious over the phone I couldn't get anyone else to pick me up before coming to get me. 3 months postpartum, I had a breakdown. I had been up for 4 days, no breaks. I started hallucinating from the lack of sleep, and couldn't move from a ball on the ground crying. I was checking into psych for 3 days. It felt like a vacation. I slept 16 hours the first day. I got hot food. Hugs. Showers. Hot showers. I slept in a bed, not on a couch with a baby crying in the bassinet next to me. It was amazing. Before I got checked out, the psych therapist called my husband and made him promise to start helping me, or they wouldn't release me. He agreed. The next few months felt like I was being punished for abandoning him. It was tense. For 2 weeks after psych, he helped with the wake-ups. Then it went back to how it was. It's been that way since. The postpartum is awful. I have to actually not die every day. Since I was 8 weeks postpartum, my husband has started having his card games with his buddies at the house again. These take all day, between 8 and 12 hours, and I'm alone for that time while he plays. I'm exhausted. I'm on a handful of meds now to try not to off myself and manage the depression and everything that comes along with it. Which brings us to now. I'm not doing great. My doctors are tolerating my medications up, because I'm still not mentally doing great. I told my husband I needed to up my medication last night at bedtime, so I would need him to wake up with the baby. I had to get at least 4 or 5 hours of unbroken sleep, because these meds make you groggy. He agreed in advance. I had been cleaning all day. Up since 4 am because of the baby. He slept until his work at 9 am, he's worked from home, then he got off at 3 pm, then immediately took a cat nap and slept until the baby went to bed. Then he got up and online gamed with his friends while I cleaned the living room. I went to bed at midnight finally, reminding him of the medication. He said okay. He came to bed at 2 am, having stayed up to game. He is taking Thursday, Friday, and Monday off so he can have a 5-day weekend, with Saturday being his game day with friends. The baby woke up when he came to bed. Since I had only had 2 hours of sleep, I reminded him of the medication and asked him to please get up with the baby. He told me he needed sleep and to get up. When the baby wakes up between 2 and 4, he is up for the day. It's unfortunate and exhausting. I'm sitting in the living room watching my perfect son crawl around me playing, while I force myself to stay upright. I'm crying from exhaustion and hoping this caffeine kicks in sooner rather than later. I think I hate my husband. I feel sad and bitter. He was so incredible before this baby. We had been together 15 years. I thought I knew him. I knew he liked gaming and sleeping, but while planning to get pregnant, he talked about his excitement, how he knew he would have to cut back and be a great dad. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We moved here because his parents owned the house, and would give us a very slightly below market price to rent. It was a fight, as it's nowhere near my own support system. It was a fight if I'm honest. I finally relented, on the condition he got a landline installed. Cell service was shoddy, and I wanted to be able to reach my friends, as I had no computer. He promised, swore it was being installed. We moved. There was no landline. There still isn't. We moved in March, found the pregnancy in April. His car was sold since he drove into the ground, so he drives mine. I can't drive right now anyways because one of my medications can cause seizures, so they want me to hold off driving. I'm trapped on this mountain with his millionaire, overbearing parents and him. I have no savings, not even a debit card now in my name, as we just had to close our bank account. Oh. That's another thing. We're in the middle of declaring bankruptcy. Why? Because I'm $50K in medical debt. Doesn't seem like a lot, but the bare minutes payments are nearly $2K a month, and we can't sustain it anymore. Why am I in medical debt? I had cancer 4 years ago. It was pay for treatment or die. I didn't want to die. Ironic, since now I do. I can't even afford to get myself new socks. I'm sorry if this is garbled. I just didn't want to keep it inside anymore. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. What have I done? How did my life get here? It doesn't matter now, since here is where it is at. But damn friends. Just damn.